What if a comic book could change the world? Today we explore the life and impact of Marjane Satrapi. Hi, I'm Leah, feeling incredibly inspired today and ready to dive into this fascinating topic.
And I'm Garrett, excited to explore this curiosity-driven subject with you.
Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett. Today we're revealing the incredible story of Marjane Satrapi. She is a pioneer in graphic literature and film and an activist who bridged cultures through her work.
I once stumbled across Persepolis at a friend's house. At first I was just into the stark black and white art. Those bold lines kind of hit different. But as I read, I got pulled into Marjane's world. It's a memoir in comic form, her own life story, growing up in post-revolution Iran and then navigating her teenage years in Vienna. I couldn't put it down. It was my first real foray into comics beyond superheroes, and it totally reframed the medium for me. Comics can carry history, grief, humor, and politics without feeling like homework. That's pretty cool, right?
Same here. For anyone new to her, Marjane Satrapi is Iranian French. Born in Iran and later based largely in France, she worked across both cultures as a graphic storyteller, filmmaker, and even a writer of children's books. Her most famous work, Persepolis, tracks her childhood under a new regime in Iran and her adolescence in Europe. It's intimate, funny, and real talk, sometimes devastating. She later adapted it into an animated film.
She had this knack for translating complex cultural stuff into accessible stories. She turns terms that can feel heavy, like diaspora, which basically means a community living outside its homeland, into lived experience. Then she jumped into film with Persepolis the movie, co-directed with Vincent Parronneau, a French filmmaker. Same voice, different medium. Nailed it.
Let's unpack her early years. She grew up in Tehran in an upper-middle-class family and attended Lycée Razi, a French-language school. Her parents were politically active and supported leftist causes against the Shah, the monarch before the 1979 revolution. After that revolution, Islamic fundamentalists took power. Daily life changed fast. There were new strict rules, surveillance, and fear, and that forms the backdrop of Persepolis.
The family story gets painfully specific. Her uncle Anoush, the uncle she adores, was executed as a political prisoner and buried in an unmarked grave at Evin prison, a notorious Tehran prison known for holding political prisoners. He was allowed one final visitor, and he chose teenage Marjane. That scene becomes a pillar of her memoir, state power and family love colliding in one heartbreaking moment.
Because of escalating crackdowns, her parents sent her to Vienna at age 14 to attend the Lycée Français de Vienne. She first stayed with a family friend named Zozo, but it wasn't a smooth landing. She moved from one place to another, sometimes couch surfing, and at one point she was homeless for 3 months. She nearly died from bronchitis. That's a severe lung inflammation. She was hospitalized, and that crisis eventually pushed her to return to Iran to recover.
Why did Vienna hit so hard for her? I mean, beyond the usual teen chaos.
Culture shock and instability, basically. She was navigating a new language, new social codes, and the loneliness of exile. Diaspora life can split your identity. You're from two places and sometimes belong to neither. She doesn't romanticize any of that. She puts the rough edges on the page.
Back in Iran, she studied visual communication and earned a master's degree at Islamic Azad University in Tehran. Visual communication is the study of how images and design transmit ideas, and it sharpened her draftsmanship and layout sense. Around 21, she married a veteran of the Iran-Iraq War. They later divorced. Then she moved to Strasbourg, France, to attend the Haute École des Arts du Rhin, known as HERE. That drop-in to the Franco-Belgian comics scene was huge, like moving into the neighborhood where your art form has its favorite workshops.
Persepolis arrived in French between 2000 and 2003 in 4 parts, then in English in 2003 and 2004. It's vignettes, short scenes, that blend the personal and the political. The Angoulême International Comics Festival, basically the Cannes of comics in France, gave it major honors, including the Coup de Cœur and later Best Scenario for Volume 2. Suddenly, Satrapi was a global literary name.
She pushed back on labels too. In 2011, she told The Guardian she prefers the term comics over graphic novel. The fancier term sometimes tries to smuggle in prestige. She wanted parody. The medium can handle anything without a dress code.
Then comes the film adaptation, co-directed with Vincent Perronneau, premiering at Cannes in 2007. It shared the jury prize, which is a top award there, and was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars in 2008. She became the first woman ever nominated in that category. That's a landmark. The French version featured voices like Chiara Mastroianni and Catherine Deneuve. The English version included Gina Rowlands, Sean Penn, and Iggy Pop. It crossed borders without losing its core identity.
And the film did big numbers in France, over 1 million admissions, and won Best First Film at the César Awards, which are like the French Oscars. Film scholar Tim Palmer puts it in a tradition of debut French films centered on intimate rites of passage. It's more about memory and character than spectacle. That formally spare look, mostly black and white, served the story. Yeah, that checks out.
Controversy followed too. The Iranian government denounced the film and got it dropped from the Bangkok International Film Festival. And in the U.S., in 2013, Chicago schools ordered Persepolis removed from certain classrooms due to graphic language and violence, which triggered protests. It's striking when a memoir about repression becomes part of a censorship debate elsewhere.
After Persepolis, she expanded her range. Chicken with Plums won Angoulême's Album of the Year and later became a 2011 live-action film she co-directed with Perronneau. It's a melancholic family story centered on a musician losing the will to live. It blends humor and sadness, kind of lyrical. Then she went hands-on with La Bande des Jotas in 2012, directing and acting, even doing costume and production design. Comics DNA at work. Control the text and the image.
She shifted tone again with The Voices in 2014, a dark comedy with Ryan Reynolds, Anna Kendrick, and Gemma Arterton about a factory worker with schizophrenia whose hallucinations talk to him, including his pets. It's edgy and tonally daring. Then Radioactive in 2019, a biopic about Marie Curie, the two-time Nobel laureate, used bold visual metaphors to show how scientific discovery echoes through time. The 2020 premiere was disrupted by COVID, so it pivoted to an online release.
She kept one foot in animation too. In 2021, she voiced Ava in The Soloists, a French animated short about 3 sisters pushing to express their musical talents in a society with sexist laws. Then in 2024, she directed Dear Paris, a black comedy of interconnected stories shaped by death, which showed at the Torino Film Festival. Same sharp eye for the absurd and the human.
Her activism is steady across the years. In 2022, after the death of Mahsa Amini, she publicly supported the Woman Life Freedom movement, called Jina in Persian contexts, and coordinated a graphic anthology to explain the uprising to Western readers. She framed it as a cultural revolution, meaning a deep shift in everyday norms and courage, not just a change in laws. In 2023, that work appeared as Femme, Vie, Liberté.
In 2024, she received the Princess of Asturias Award for Communication and Humanities, a major Spanish honor recognizing contributions to culture and human rights. Then in January 2025, she refused the French Legion of Honor, France's highest order of merit, criticizing visa policies. She argued that while the children of elites could enter France easily, young Iranian dissidents faced barriers. She wanted concrete support over symbolic gestures. That's a values-driven stance, for sure.
Her personal life had deep joy and deep loss. She lived in Paris and married Matthias Ripa, a Swedish actor and producer. He died in 2025. She then established the Matthias and Marjane Satrapi Cinema Foundation to support foreign students studying filmmaking in Paris, turning grief into opportunity for others. In June 2026, she died in Paris at age 56. Tributes came from writer Margaret Atwood, French President Emmanuel Macron, and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Narges Mohammadi. That cross-field respect says a lot.
Before we move on, one more note about her voice. She spoke Farsi, French, English, Swedish, German, and Italian. That polyglot skill made it easier to collaborate across borders and speak directly to different audiences. It helps explain why her ideas traveled so well.
Okay, let's get to a lingering question. She said her maternal great-grandfather was Nasser al-Din Shah Qajar, a 19th century Iranian king. It's presented as her family's claim. There isn't genealogical documentation here to confirm it. Family lore can be powerful, though. Stories passed down can shape how you see yourself and your place in history.
I'm with you on the emotional weight, but I'm a documents guy. Without records, I kind of keep it in a maybe box, especially since royalty claims pop up a lot in family trees. They can be true or, wishful. It doesn't change her work, which stands on verified lived experience. But on the history point, yeah, I want receipts.
Totally fair. For me, the why matters. In autobiographical storytelling, personal testimony, someone's first-person account, has its own kind of truth. It's about meaning, not just paperwork. Especially in families shaped by revolution and migration, archives can be missing or fragmented. So I hold space for both possibilities. The claim could be accurate, or it could be symbolic. Either way, it informs how she threads family and national history.
That's a solid point. And it lines up with how Persepolis works, memory layered with history. For the record, some other family claims, like her grandfather allegedly being governor of Gilan, are presented the same way. Interesting, but not independently verified in the sources we have.
Speaking of records, Persepolis landed on The Guardian's list of the 100 best books of the 21st century in 2019 and the New York Times list in 2024. That's mainstream literary validation of a comic memoir, and it stays relevant in conversations about censorship and representation. The Chicago Schools episode in 2013 turned it into a teaching moment about who gets to decide what young readers can handle.
Why do you think Persepolis keeps resonating? We're more than 20 years on.
Because it makes geopolitics personal. It shows a kid arguing with parents, buying banned music, getting in trouble for a dress code, and then facing the loss of loved ones. It's specific and universal at the same time. Also, the format, comics panels, slows you down. You sit with expressions in silence. That intimacy is timeless.
All right, let's roll on with a big what if. In 2009, right after Iran's contested election, Satrapi and filmmaker Mohsen Makhmalbaf, a prominent Iranian director and activist, appeared before Green Party members in the European Parliament with a document allegedly from the Iranian Electoral Commission. It claimed the reform candidate, Mir Hossein Mousavi, had actually won, and that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad received only about 12%. The document's authenticity was disputed. Now, what if that document had been officially confirmed and internationally accepted?
If it had been validated, I think her platform would have amplified a coordinated response. She had global media access and credibility with readers and film audiences. The Green Movement, protests against the election outcome, might have gained stronger international backing sooner. Maybe targeted pressure, maybe more protective attention on activists. That could have changed the rhythm of events on the ground, even if not the ultimate outcome.
Yeah, I'm with you, with a caveat. International validation can raise the cost of repression and boost morale, but on its own, it doesn't reorganize power. What it might have done is accelerate Satrapi's activist projects. Perhaps the graphic anthology model she used later for Woman, Life, Freedom could have arrived in 2009, shaping the narrative earlier. And it could have widened the audience of sympathetic policymakers who already read Persepolis. Not gonna lie, that's a big ripple.
Either way, it shows how art and advocacy can intersect. A single creator with global reach can help translate a complex crisis into human terms. That is her strength, building bridges through story, whether on the page or the screen. Thanks for learning with us today. Stay curious
And keep exploring. See you next time on Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.